Alright, Chapter 7H, FDA. Why are Americans so damn fat and unhealthy? We're not that inactive and lazy, are we? Why does our society have so many medical problems that we didn't have 30 years ago? The foods we eat are laced with pesticides and other poisonous substances, but most of us don't think twice about eating them. We live longer than the generations before us, but our golden years are dominated by trips to the doctor for more pills, treatments, and surgeries that can possibly make sense. When my grandma died a few years ago, she was taking a mountain of pills every day just to stay healthy, and it was all paid for by the federal government, further pushing us into the debt abyss. It's almost like some corrupt entity is intentionally steering us down a pre-planned, golden years hypochondriac road. There is such an entity, and it is one of the cogs of the New World Order system. This cog is a corrupt and bloated federal bureaucracy that is in charge of making sure what is put into our bodies is supposedly safe. The Federal Food and Drug Administration. Believe you me, the FDA is fully under the New World Order's control matrix in order to help facilitate our destruction. I'm going to go over a handful of products in the next few chapters deemed safe by the FDA, when in fact they are the exact opposite of that and downright dangerous to our well-being. It is not uncommon knowledge in D.C. that if you do your time at the FDA and act in a favorable manner towards the huge pharma companies, that a lucrative job working at these same drug companies is virtually guaranteed in your future. The Illuminati's tentacles of financial influence over all aspects of our lives should be as plain as day to you at this point in this book. The Federal Reserve, mainstream media, Big Oil, Big Pharma, all are majority or outright owned and controlled by the proponents of the New World Order. There are many, many insidious ways that the Illuminati-controlled multinational corporations are cutting financial corners with our food supply, adding addictive flavor enhancers, and generally poisoning us. This includes lacing our foods with high fructose corn syrup, nitrites, pesticides, bovine growth hormones, and the like, all in the name of increasing their profits at our expense, with the full knowledge of the federal government that these compounds also serve to make us lethargic, unhealthy, and beholden to Big Pharma to cure us when our biological systems collapse from ingesting all these toxic substances in our food and water. Humans in health distress are less likely to have the motivation to rise up against the New World Order agenda, and this particular plan of attack starts at the FDA. Let's look at the FDA itself first, and then we'll go over some of the major health offenders that are allowed into our food supply. In a poll conducted in 2007, Consumer Reports found the following with regard to the public's view of the Food and Drug Administration. 96% agreed the government should have the power to require warning labels on drugs with known safety problems. As Consumer Report explains, quote, right now the Food and Drug Administration must negotiate safety warning labels with a drug maker, unquote. 84% agree that drug companies have, quote, too much influence over the government officials who regulate them, unquote. More than 2/3 of those surveyed are concerned that drug companies actually pay the FDA to review and approve their drugs. It's a situation that turns drug companies into the customers of the FDA, and the customer is always right, right? Right. 92% agree that pharmaceutical companies should disclose the results of all clinical trials, not just the ones with positive results that they wish to publicize. Currently, drug companies can bury negative drug trials, and the FDA has in fact been caught conspiring with drug companies to keep negative drug data secret from the public. 93% think that the FDA should have the power to demand follow-up safety studies from drug companies. Currently, the FDA has no authority to require follow-up safety studies on drugs after they are introduced to the market. This is a serious oversight shortfall, given that many problems with drugs only appear after widespread use, as patients are widely used as guinea pigs in any new drug launch. 60% agreed that doctors and scientists with a financial conflict of interest should not be allowed to serve on FDA advisory boards. Currently, doctors who earn hundreds of thousands of dollars each year in consulting fees from drug companies are not only allowed to vote on their recommendations for FDA approval of their drugs, there is not even any FDA requirement to disclose such conflicts of interest. New rules proposed by the FDA would reduce this level of corruption by allowing doctors to receive a maximum of $50,000 per year from companies impacted by their decisions. This would have the effect of making the FDA numerically less corrupt than it is now, but still tolerating blatant conflicts of interest. It would, in all true definition of it, set a bribery ceiling. 91% said they had seen a drug advertisement on television or in print, a victory for Big Pharma accomplished by the FDA legalizing such ads in 1998. 26% said they asked their doctor for a brand name medication after learning about it from an advertisement. The purpose of this advertising blitz is purely to increase sales of drugs, not, as is claimed by Big Pharma and the FDA, to educate patients about medical treatments and medicines. 75% agreed that the allowing of drug advertising has resulted in the overprescribing of pharmaceuticals. 59% said the government should restrict pharmaceutical advertising, and 26% said they strongly agree with such restrictions on pushing drugs in public, which is all they are really doing. More than half of those surveyed said they are currently taking prescription drugs, indicating that more than half of American adults are now on drugs. 40% said they have experienced a negative reaction or a negative side effect from taking prescription medications. Most side effects go unreported, and there is currently no enforced legal requirement that doctors or drug companies report newly discovered side effects to the FDA. The United States is the only industrialized nation in the world that allows drug companies to advertise directly to consumers. It was legalized in 1998 by the FDA, following political pressure and influence from the drug companies, who knew that being able to push brand name drugs through advertising would result in windfall profits. Some drugs are sold at markups as high as 300,000% over the cost of their ingredients, with most subsidized in some form or another by the taxpayers, aka you and me. Pharmaceuticals are now the fourth leading cause of death in America. According to the Journal of the American Medical Association, prescription drugs currently kill approximately 100,000 Americans each year. Synthetic opiates such as Percocet, oxycodone, hydrocodone, and the like easily find their way into our middle and high schools, introducing our kids to drugs at an even earlier age than ever. The best way to protect Americans from these dangerous, deadly products is to call for and enact reforms that end the medical racket currently being jointly operated by the FDA and Big Pharma, such as Pfizer, Merck, GlaxoSmithKline, etc. Unfortunately, many of the very lawmakers who would vote on such legislations are, much like FDA advisors, on the take via lobbyist favors from the very same pharmaceutical companies that stand to be impacted by their vote. The FDA is not looking out for our best interest. Remember Merck's Vioxx, Merck knew damn well that the amount of profits they were reaping at the time would outnumber the amount of dollars in claims that they would pay out. So they kept it on the market even after knowing it was deadly. Closer FDA oversight would have easily prevented this. The FDA has repeatedly banned and confiscated herbs and nutritional supplements that compete with prescription drugs, and conducted armed raids on alternative medicine clinics, confiscating computers, threatening alternative health practitioners, and scaring away patients from healthy alternatives to Big Pharma's assembly line of harm. The FDA also censors scientific information about the benefits of natural foods like cherries by threatening cherry growers with legal action if they did not remove scientific information about cherries from their websites, and has pursued and shut down companies selling natural-based, genuine cancer treatments that probably work as good or better as anything on the market right now. The FDA knowingly approved harmful food additives for widespread use in the food supply, like aspartame, which we will go over here soon, and allowed the continued legal use of harmful, cancer-causing food additives in the national food supply, such as sodium nitrite, which is in all processed meats today. The FDA also refused to ban a poisonous artificial fat from the food supply, hydrogenated oils and trans fats, for decades, even though the World Health Organization urged member nations to outlaw the substance in 1978. Hydrogenated oils have proliferated into our processed food supply and continue to harm us all today. Taking all of this poisoning on the FDA's watch into consideration, is it any wonder that we are now the most chronically diseased population that has ever been recorded in the history of mankind? There is not a population on Earth other than ours that has suffered from diseases like we do in the United States today. You would have to be asleep at the wheel to not think there's a correlation between the government-approved poisons we are ingesting, the diseases we are getting as a result, and the medical bills to treat them. We're the #1 nation in the world per capita in terms of jail incarceration, mostly drug-related offenses, mental disorders, obesity, diabetes, cancer, and a host of other health issues. And we have the highest health care costs per capita. We have in our country the most expensive drugs in the world. We have more doctors and healthcare professionals per capita than any country in the world. How in the hell is this possible unless we are being sabotaged from within? Not only is the FDA corrupt from top to bottom, a lot of the consumer chemicals that you come into contact with every day fall not under the FDA but the EPA and have little to no oversight. Since the Toxic Substances Control Act became law in 1976, the number of chemicals in commercial products has increased from 60,000 to 80,000, yet the EPA has required testing on only 200 and restricted only 5. Under this act, chemicals are presumed safe unless proven otherwise, and that is a tough case to prove given the corruption in our government. Case in point, formaldehyde. Formaldehyde is used extensively in building products these days, mostly in a product called OSB, Oriented Strand Board. I've been in the building trade all my life, and I will tell you for a fact that most new houses are nothing but formaldehyde gas chambers. The floors, walls, roof, siding, and even framing components, along with the interior trim, are full of formaldehyde, and this is a fact. Some people are literally surrounded by formaldehyde in these new homes. There have been studies linking exposure to formaldehyde to cancers, asthma, and other illnesses. But do you think anything will be done about it? The FDA is a completely corrupted organization that is supposed to be looking out for us, but instead the people working there look out for themselves and how many financial favors can be done for them down the road, financially and otherwise. It also traces back to the corrupting power of money, with the ultimate corrupt money power being the Federal Reserve. It is imperative for you to be extremely vigilant about what you and your family are putting into your bodies, especially your children, whose developing biological systems are extremely vulnerable at a young age. Okay, that's the end of that one. I've kind of stumbled through it some there, but and there is another topic that, I don't know, it's not covered in this book that I've seen anyway, of chemtrails, which I wonder, I think chemtrails have probably at least a six-fold purpose, it seems, in the world. And I think Jesse Ventura has come out lately, and I haven't watched it, but I pretty well get. He's saying, that's a real conspiracy theory. That's not even true. And there's just not a lot said about the chemtrails. It's just, but anyway, I really think one of the facets of chemtrails is it just goes right along with what we're talking about here. Keeps us sick and stupid as much as possible. And anyway, so I think I will add a little bit of video to this reading, and about a topic that is pretty important as well. All right, so our next subchapter will be about fluoride. So I'll talk to you then.
Hi, my name is Joanne. I'm a cancer survivor. I was diagnosed with large B intravascular lymphoma in 2009. I took 8 sessions of chemotherapy, which almost killed me. But I beat it. It was in my kidneys, not my lymph nodes. But it came back in my brain. And I beat it with radiation. And I was okay for a year. But then it came back again in my leg. They took it out of my leg and found that it's through my blood. They started trying to give me chemo again. It didn't work. It almost killed me. They sent me home to die in April of 2012. They told me I would not make my birthday in June. However, I found Rick Simpson's oil and I started to take it. Within 2 weeks, I had more energy. Within a month, I felt better. Within 6 weeks, I was in full remission. I'm still here. It's April 2013. The cancer has not come back. I'm healthier than I've ever been. I want to share this news with everyone. Phoenix Tears Oil works. There should be no one dying from cancer with this out there. Everybody should tell everyone about this cure. My kidneys and liver are screwed because of chemotherapy, and the Rick Simpson oil is actually fixing them, which the doctor said would never happen. Everyone needs to know this. We need to get the word out. I'm happy, and so are my friends and family. I can't thank Rick Simpson Oil enough, or anybody else who's trying to promote this. We need to get it out. We need to save lives. Thanks.